Vande Mataram children. Today, day 5 of the history chapter, Age of Industrialization. We had learned about the problems faced by the Indian weavers, how they could not, sell their products in the market because of the British manufactured goods, which flooded the market. As a result, they could not sell their own products, and even if they tried to sell it, because of the exorbitant price of these products which was manufactured in India, people did not you know uh, buy those products, because there were two things. One was that the goods which was manufactured in India, the raw materials which the uh, people the producers had, that was very less amount, because all the most of the raw materials were taken away by the Britishers. So these are the things that we are going to study. And apart from that, we will be all studying about many Indian industrialists. A few of the Indian industrialists, like Dwarkanath Tagore or Dinshaw Petit, Jamshedji Tata, and all such industrialists. We are going to study about them, how they had established industries in India, and then how they faced problems because of British monopoly and British imposition of certain rules and regulation on those people. Okay, let's see the slides that we had discussed about. The first, that is the day 5. Okay, and then reasons for decline of textile exports from India. There were 5 reasons for decline of textile export from India. First is the development of cotton industries in England, because although India initially was very, a lot of textile, hand woven textile was there in India, but due to development of industries in England, um, uh, people or the Indian producers could not sell products in the market. Second is growth of mills and falling demand. There were a lot of mills which were came up in England. As a result, our demand, the products which were produced by us or produced by the Indian products, lost. The demand fell down. And the most third important reason was two-edge policy. We learned today that there were no taxation. The goods which came from abroad, which came from England, they did not impose any kind of tax, import tax on them. As a result, what happened? The price of those commodities fell down. Whereas the goods which was exported from India to England, they were heavily taxed. As a result, the price of goods which were produced in India, the prices went up. So there was a quite of competition between the two products, that is the Manchester goods and Indian goods. Now see, Manchester goods came to India very easily because of lack of import duties, import taxes. Weavers and small producers in India faced two problems at the same time. One, their export market collapsed and the market shrank because there was a lot of imports from Manchester, goods which came from England. So that was full in the market. As a result, their market, the commodities which were produced in India, their market fell down. Now, fifth and the last one is shortage of raw materials. How come there was a shortage of raw materials? Because most of the raw materials were taken away by the Britishers for their manufacture of the commodities. And as a result, the goods, there was quite a bit of a shortage of goods or raw materials in India. Um, uh, okay, so after that, we have seen actually, we have learned about a few industrialists in India who, due to certain ways, made up some money, and then they started establishing industries in India. They were Dwarkanath Tagore, Dinshaw Petit, Jamshedji Tata, Seth Hukumchand, were the few names that we can right now talk about. So these were the people who made some money by by trading, by providing finance, by procuring supplies and shipping consignments. So they made some money, and from that money they started establishing business. Having earned through trade, some of these businessmen and visions of developing industrial enterprises in India, they thought to build up certain industrial units in India. In Bengal, Dwarkanath Tagore was there, who set up a 6 joint stock companies in 1830s and 1840s. In Bombay, Parsis like Dinshaw Petit and Jamshedji Nashavandji Tata, we all know about him, like Tisco and Telco companies, built huge industrial empires. Seth Hukumchand set up the first Indian jute mill in Calcutta in 1917. So did his father as well as his grandfather of the famous J.D. Birla. So now, early entrepreneurs that we talked about were trading initially with Burma and other Middle East and Eastern Africa. Their commercial groups operated within India only. Now, what happened, children? Because when the Britishers saw that these entrepreneurs had, started working in, in India, and they are making profit. Now, what they did, they started tightening, or they started imposing restrictions on their, um, um, trading and all that, and their business. So as colonial control over Indian trade tightened, the space within which Indian merchant could function became increasingly limited. They could not, they could only trade in a very small scale. Not much of the things were could be traded at that point of time. They did not allow. They were barred from trading with Europe in manufactured goods. They had to only export raw materials and food grains. Food grains and raw materials, they were restricted to export only food grains and raw materials. European managing agencies control a large section of Indian industries. These industries mobilized capital, set up of joint stock companies, and managed them. The European merchant industrialists and their own chambers of commerce, which Indian businessmen were not allowed to join. Last slide we can see few industrialists over here, and the first cotton mill which was established in India. So some way or the other, our textile industries were totally ruined by the Britishers.